I have a confession, you guys. As you saw from the title of today's video, we are going to be reading the Slammed series by Colleen Hoover, and I wanted to read all 3 books with you so you guys get my first impressions as I read the books. But last week I got my period and I didn't want to do anything but lay in bed and read, so I ended up reading the first book in the Slam series, and I'm so sorry, but I promise that I'll read book 2 and book 3 with you guys. You know when you just need to curl up in bed with a good book? That was me last week, and for some reason, out of all the books that I have, all the books on my TBR list, this is the one that was calling to me, so I could not resist. I ended up reading the whole thing in one day. Wow. I don't understand why this book doesn't get as much recognition as the other Colleen Hoover books. I feel like I always hear about It Ends With Us, Ugly Love, but I don't really hear a lot of people talking about the Slam series. Maybe I'm not on the right YouTube channels or on the right side of TikTok, but I fell in love with the first book in the Slam series. I absolutely love the characters, and I'm so excited to read what they're up to in book number 2 of the Slam series, which is called Point of Retreat. It took all of my willpower, you guys, to not read this as soon as I received it in the mail because I wanted to crack it open and read it right then and there. But I didn't because I wanted to read it with you guys. But in case you haven't read this book and you want a quick little summary without me spoiling the book for you, basically in this book we are introduced to the 2 main characters, Will and Lake. Will, I believe, is 23 years old if I remember correctly, and Lake is 18. She just turned 18. She moves with her mom and her little brother from Texas to Detroit because their dad unexpectedly died of a heart attack. When she moves to Detroit, that's when she meets Will, who happens to be her neighbor. Of course, they fall for each other and they discover something that forces them to stay apart from each other. Even though they have feelings for one another, this new discovery makes them like back off and say, we can't be together. There's no way. There's too much at stake for us. The right thing would be to go our separate ways and break up, which proves to be hard because they both fell for each other from the very beginning of them meeting. The whole book is them 2 dealing with that new discovery, dealing with the fact that they can't be together. It's just a very heartfelt book. I was crying at the end of this book because it just pulled at my heartstrings. It covers a lot of deep topics like illness and death. Before you continue watching this video, make sure that you read the first book so you don't have to deal with any spoilers, okay? Okay, I warned you. Proceed at your own risk. In the second book in the Slam series by New York Times bestselling author Colleen Hoover, Lake and Will's relationship has endured through hardships, heartache, and a cruel twist of fate, further solidifying the fact that they belong together. But the 2 lovers could not have expected that the things that brought them together may ultimately be the things that tear them apart. Their connection is on the brink of being destroyed forever, and it would take an extraordinary amount of willpower to keep their love afloat. Lake is left questioning the very foundation on which her relationship with Will was built. Will is left questioning how he can prove his love for a girl who can't seem to stop carving pumpkins. That's actually a reference to the first book, and it's a really sad reference. Upon finding the answers that may bring peace back into the relationship, the couple comes across an even greater challenge, one that could change not only their lives, but the lives of everyone who depends on them. I'm so ready to read this, you guys. If you've never watched any of my reading vlogs before, which you totally should, by the way, as I read the book, I'll vlog my thoughts and my opinions. I do my very best to not spoil the book for you guys in case one of you out there hasn't read this book. But at the end of today's video, I will give you guys my final thoughts, my final review on the book, which will include spoilers because I can't really give you guys my honest review unless I spoil a couple things in the book. But don't worry, I'll give you guys a warning before I dive into my final review. Without further ado, let's get started because I cannot wait any longer and I want to dive in and read. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little nervous to start this book because I loved the first one so much. Verity is my all-time favorite Colleen Hoover book, but the first book in the Slam series, which is called Slammed, I could just say Slammed, but Slammed is honestly up there with Verity for me. I love the writing, I love the characters. It was just the right amount of heartbreak, the right amount of happiness. I loved everything about Slammed. So I'm really nervous to start this book because what if it's not good? What if it's not as good as the first book? So I'm going to try to lower my expectations for this book and enter it with an open mind. Okay. I'm procrastinating at this point. Let me just open it up and start reading. This is before she wrote all of her other best-selling novels. This was published in 2012. That's when I graduated high school. Oh my god. You guys. The dedication, you guys. So sweet. I also like how Colleen Hoover includes a little note to the reader to let everyone know that this is the second book in the Slam series. That way people don't read this book first by mistake. I'm sure it still happens, but I definitely think everyone should read Slam first and then Point of Retreat to really understand Lake and Will's love story. Point of Retreat. Prologue, December 31st. Okay, you guys, so I just got to chapter 4. I'm on page 57 and I read the first 50 pages because I wanted to really understand the layout of this book. From what I've gathered is that this book is in Will's point of view. The first book was from Lake's point of view, so we only got to see what her thoughts were, and in this book it really focuses on Will. They're both in college. She's in undergrad, he's in grad school, and he's taking a class which I'm going to say what's happening in this part, but he's taking a class where his ex is also a student, and Will decides not to tell Lake about this fact. He's like, why should I tell her that my ex is in the same class as I am? She doesn't have to know. Why would I stress her out? Wrong. In my opinion, he should tell Lake, regardless if she stresses about it later. At least he was completely honest, because from what I read, Miss Thing, his ex, which I think her name is Vaughn, wants to play catch up with him, even though she broke up with Will. And for that reason, I think that he should just tell Lake, like, hey, I'm in the same class as my ex. I can't change the class because I need this class to graduate. And at least that honest conversation would have been had. But no, he decides to hide it from Lake. So I'm sure that is going to be a huge issue down the line in the book. But again, let's focus. Hi. Not a bad read, honestly. I am really enjoying learning more about Will and getting inside his mind. It's always nice to get the guy's point of view. I personally like getting the guy's point of view. Maybe I'm just nosy like that, but I like seeing what his opinion on things are. See, this is exactly why Will should have told Lake about his ex being in the same class. She brought him a coffee. Why would she bring him a coffee? You guys are not together. You're not friends. Don't buy him a coffee. And then he goes, she's got her hair pulled back in a bun. I know exactly what she's doing. I told her once that I loved it when she wore her hair like that. It's no coincidence that she's wearing it like that today. She knows exactly what she's doing. I'm pissed off for Lake. Will told her that he was in a serious relationship, yet she's trying to be his friend and buddy-buddy. Why? One thing I really like about the Slam series is that there's poetry in the books. If you read the first book, then you know that Will took Lake to a slam session for the first date, which is so cool and so unique. I love that idea. I've actually never been to one and I kind of want to go now, but that's besides the point. What I like is that Colleen Hoover includes poetry in these books. The poetry in these books so far have always been very deep and very meaningful. I've just been really enjoying that format. I also figured out why the title of the book is Point of Retreat, and I'm going to say it because I don't think it's a huge spoiler, but basically Point of Retreat is a little saying that they have for each other whenever things get a little too spicy, a little too hot and heavy for either of them, because they still haven't been intimate. When things get to be a little bit too much for them, one of them will say point of retreat and they'll back away from one another before things are escalated. That's why it's called Point of Retreat. Kind of clever, Colleen Hoover. Kind of clever. And I don't know if it's because the Slam series were her first 2 books that she ever wrote, or at least ever published, but they're not super spicy, and I'm actually not mad at that. Spicy is fun, don't get me wrong, but I also like when the 2 main characters connect on a deeper level and not everything is about sex between them, you know? I feel like a lot of the other Colleen Hoover books, like Verity, It Ends With Us, and Ugly Love, were very spicy, but this one not so much, and I'm not mad at it. I'm actually enjoying it. Okay, so shit is going down between Will and Lake, and they're struggling a lot right now, which makes me sad. But obviously characters have to struggle in order for it to be an entertaining book, so it only makes sense that they are struggling. One thing that's really cute, and if I tell you guys, it really doesn't ruin the plot of the book. Lake's mom passed away in the last book. Her last gift for both Lake and Will was a vase full of advice. Since both of them don't have any parents or have anyone that they can lean on for advice, Lake's mom thought it would be a good idea to fill up a vase with different types of advice that they can reach into whenever they face a problem or are struggling. And I think that is so sweet. Really sad when you think about it, but I also think it's very sweet. I'm hoping that Will and Lake will have to dig into that vase to resolve their issue, because it seems to me that they are in really dire need of good advice to help them out with the problem that they're facing. Will's former best friend is a complete ass. Wow, there are some really shitty friends out there. I'm telling you, you have to be careful with who you call a friend, because not everyone that pretends to be nice to you is your friend, and Will just figure that one out. Alright, you guys, I just got to part 2, literally just got to part 2. I'm halfway done with the book. Part 1 just ended with a huge cliffhanger. It's not really a cliffhanger because I can just flip the page and start part 2, but the ending of part 1 has me shook. Like, I'm scared to start part 2. I have a feeling Colleen Hoover is going to break my heart in part 2, and I'm not ready for it. I'm nervous. Let's continue. Oh my gosh, I am so nervous, you guys. All right, so I took a little break to eat, and I'm almost done with the book. I literally only have like 20 pages left, if I remember correctly. I feel like I haven't even talked a lot during this video because I've been so into reading that I haven't wanted to stop. Yeah, I think I have like 10 pages left, if anything. I'm at the part of the book where Will is at his little brother's talent show, and his little brother did a slam. It just made me tear up because his little brother basically thanked Will for giving up on his own dreams to take care of him after their parents died. Everything he said about Will just tugged at my heart, and I was like, oh my god. So I really enjoyed reading that part. That was so cute. It was like a full circle moment, because in book 1 and for the majority of this book, obviously you as a reader know that Will gave up his entire dream. He basically gave up his life to take care of his little brother when their parents died. His little brother was 7, and I think Will was like 18 or 19. So imagine being that young, losing your parents, and on top of that you have to take care of your little brother. Well, not have to, but like you want to, because who else would do a better job than you, his brother? Like, you get Will's perspective, but you don't really get the little boy's perspective. You didn't really get to see how much it meant to him that Will took him in and took care of him and is raising him, not as his brother but as his father. The slam was Will's little brother's way of saying like, thank you, I realize everything that you gave up for me, and I will forever be in your debt for that. And I thought that was really cute, really sweet. And yeah, I'm kind of sad that the book is almost done. I can't believe I'm almost done with this book, and I've only been reading for a couple hours. That's how addicting it is. God. Alright, so I'm in my kitchen now because it's 5:44, so you guys can tell. The sun is going to set very soon. I mean, it's pretty dark outside. I think it's gonna rain in a few, so I don't have the sunniest, best lighting situation right now, but we're just going to deal. Also, if you hear a cat eating in the background, it's in fact my cat chomping on her dinner, so ignore that. But I just finished Point of Retreat, and you guys, I was reading the ending smiling the whole time. I feel like I say that a lot with a lot of the romance novels that I read, but like Colleen Hoover definitely has a unique way to make me smile with every ending that she writes. I'm just like left in awe, and like my heart feels so full for the characters, and I'm so happy for them by the time I finish the book. I love the first book more, but I honestly believe that both of them are equally good. I think I love the first one more because it was like that fresh new love. They're both young, they met each other for the first time. You know, when you're in a relationship for the first time, those few weeks, few months are like the honeymoon phase. So I feel like the first book was very much the honeymoon phase, and then the second book was more of them being adults, taking care of their little brothers, while at the same time still trying to figure out what their relationship meant to one another. Also, spoiler coming, the first half of the book involved Will's ex-girlfriend, Vaughn, who came back into his life. She was in the same graduate course that he was in, and she was being slutty, she was being a terrible, shitty person, trying to weave herself back into his life. Will, stupid mistake that he made, decided to withhold this information from Lake. Eventually she finds out, and that's what drifts them apart. Not so much the fact that he lied about her being in his class, more so the fact that Vaughn told Will, like, do you actually love Lake? How do you know that you actually love her, or if you just love her because she's in the same situation that you're in? And when Will tells this to Lake, Lake takes a step back and it's like, I mean, she has a point. Do you actually love me, or do you love me because you can relate to me and we're stuck in the same situation? Our parents are dead and we both have to take care of our little brothers. I understand why Lake felt that way and why she wanted Will to prove his love to her, but I also understand Will's point of view of, like, we've been through so much together, and yes, our relationship isn't a normal relationship. We've been through more grief than anyone our age would have, actually more grief than anyone would have in their lifetime. And so he was getting frustrated with Lake and the fact that she didn't believe that he actually loved her. So just like in the first book, he won her over by doing a slam. All was good until part 2, when their group of friends all got into a car accident and Lake was injured the worst. So during the first part of the second half of the book, you read about Will struggling with the fact that Lake might not make it. What will happen to her little brother? Will he be able to take care of him because he's already bonded with him? Will loves her little brother as his own son, so obviously he's worried because the love of his life is fighting for her life, but he's also worried for this little boy who already lost his parents and could possibly lose his sister. So he wants to do everything in his power to take care of him and make sure that he's settled and that no one can take him away from him. So that was really sad to read. Lake obviously pulls through. There is a third book, so I never thought that she would die. I figured she would survive. I didn't know if she was going to be injured, if she was going to remember Will at all. I didn't know what the extent of her injuries were going to be, because that would make an excellent part 3. It was good to know that she's completely healthy and they actually got married at the end, which I thought was really cute. I love how their friends were like, oh, why are you rushing into this? You guys have only been together for a year. But then they're like, nothing about our relationship has happened in the traditional chronological order, so why should our marriage be any different? And I love that they got married in a courthouse. I love that they didn't end up having sex until they were married. It's traditional and I love that. They actually ended up having sex at the last chapter of the book, and there wasn't like a spicy scene or anything, like you didn't really read about it, and I like that. I like that it was very straight to the point and that they were happy, married, husband and wife, and you know that they were going to be together for the rest of time. Another thing to note is that this book is completely from Will's perspective. It is Will's point of view. We never get to see Lake's point of view, which is one thing that I'm disappointed about, because I really thought that we were going to get both characters' point of view just based on the summary on the back cover, but we didn't. We just got Will's, which is fine because the first book, again, it was all Lake's point of view, so it's kind of refreshing to get Will's. I'm hoping the third one is both of them, but I don't think it is. Oh my god, I just noticed that there's a butterfly on the side of the book. I love the side characters as well, except for, again, Vaughn was super annoying. Didn't like her from the get-go. Didn't like his best friend from the get-go. You find out later on in the book that Vaughn and his best friend actually started dating right after Vaughn broke up with Will, right after his parents died. So super shitty. So glad that they weren't a main focus of the book, because I would have been so annoyed if I kept having to read about Vaughn. I loved Eddie in this book. I mean, I loved her in the first book as well. She's actually pregnant in this book, which it's crazy. And then her boyfriend Gavin, I actually love as well. He was struggling with the pregnancy for a majority of the book, but then finally accepted the pregnancy and realized that he could be an excellent dad and that Eddie could be an excellent mom as well, and that they could figure it out. I love that Eddie is still Lake's best friend, and I love that Gavin is now Will's best friend, and they just have a really nice, healthy friend group. Well, I say friend group, but honestly, they're more like family at this point. It was really nice seeing those same characters from book 1 make an appearance in this book. I also like the new character that was introduced. What is her name? Kristen? The little girl. She was really annoying at first because she was a know-it-all, but then at certain parts of the book, she was a know-it-all for a reason. Like, she was the only one who knew what to say in very tough moments, and she kind of put every adult in their place and called them out when they needed to be called out. So I really enjoyed that as well. And then her mom was really funny, very weird, but I loved her. Very good character. All the characters in this book are amazing. I fell in love with all of them except for Vaughn. Didn't like her at all. I'm trying to think, what else do I have to say about this book? Lake's mom, Julia, who passed away in the first book, is still very present in this book, which I really like, that Colleen Hoover still kept her character alive, and that even though she passed away, she's still helping out not only her daughter but also Will. And she actually wrote a letter where she addresses Will directly and thanks him for loving her daughter the way he does, and that she's at peace knowing that her daughter has him to count on and to lean on. So I thought that was really cute. Really like how present she is despite not being there physically. I feel like these two lovebirds really need that because they're still young. It's crazy to think that Lake is only 19 years old, Will is 24, and they're raising two boys, and now they're married. That is crazy to try to wrap my head around. I can't imagine being in their shoes. It's such a tough scenario, tough situation to be in. So I really feel for them, but I'm so happy on how they navigated through all of that. But yeah, really enjoyed reading this book. I give this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5 because the first book was definitely a 5-star read for me, and since I enjoy the first book more, which is stupid because I really enjoy reading this book, but since I enjoyed the first book more, I feel like I shouldn't give this one a 5-star read, but it's very close. And I highly recommend that if you haven't picked up the Slam series, please pick it up. You'll be so happy once you read it. I cannot wait to pick up book number 3 and read it with you guys, so definitely subscribe and keep an eye out for that reading vlog, which will be out very soon. I was looking at the poll that I did this morning on my YouTube channel, and I'm kind of upset because when I sat down to film this video, the majority of you guys wanted the Slam series, and now the majority of you guys want a Court of Thorns and Roses. So I'm sorry if this vlog will come out first, but I promise I'll film myself reading a Court of Thorns and Roses later this week, so you guys will get that vlog very soon. Do not worry. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Absolutely love this book. Definitely read it if you haven't. And yeah, I like how the sun comes out right when I'm ending this vlog. Great. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this reading vlog. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.